Hello everyone! In my universal translation shader, you might have noticed that in the documentation, I have added a bunch of GIFs and all of them have the same length and have the same size, and you might be wondering just how did I manage to record all of those? Well, I am not kidding when I'm telling you that all of that recording happened right here in the Godot editor. Now, this feature has been introduced in Godot 4 and it's been in front of our eyes for quite some time because it can be activated by clicking on this film reel icon. After clicking this, Godot is going to record everything that's happening in the current scene. And this can be used to record gameplay trailers, some interesting animations, or even to record animations for your points shop stickers on Steam. So let's actually see how to make this work. Because right now, if I press on this button and if I press F6 to run the current scene, I get an error which is telling me to set the movie file string. This is basically just the location of the movie file. So I could go to project settings and in here search for movie. Now in here you're going to see a bunch of movie related settings. For example, you're going to see sound settings or quality settings, but most importantly we see the movie file setting, which is specifying the location of the output file of the movie. Now we have to simply click on this icon, we have to go to recordings, and in here we can just say the name of the file, let's say movie, and we must make sure that we also select the AVI format because we want our movie to be a video that we can actually watch. I'm just gonna click save, I'm just gonna click close, and if I now press F6, you're going to see that my game just runs as usual, but if I close it by clicking on the X button, now it's important to click on the X button because I can close it by pressing the F8 shortcut, but that's going to corrupt our video. So just make sure that you click the X button. Okay, but if I close it by clicking on the X button, you'll see that now I can go to the recordings folder and in here I have a movie.avi file, which is playing our animation. Now, on top of setting this movie file at the project level, what I can do is to also go to my current scene. So I erased the setting from the project level. I can just go to the scene and add metadata. And in here, I can just write movie file and set it as a string. And if I set here the location just as before, so recordings/movie.avi, you'll see that this works as well. So I can press F6 and this is again recording something. And if I click on the X button, I'm just gonna look here and you see a much shorter recording than before. So it has already overlapped the previous recording. And again, that's another important point because the recording is always going to overlap the previous recording. So you must be very careful because if you spend like 10 minutes recording some footage, you don't want to start another recording before actually renaming this file because you are going to lose everything that you did in those 10 minutes. Okay, but looking again at the file, you see that we have a slight problem, which is the fact that I didn't manage to stop the recording whenever the animation finished. And of course, I didn't manage to do that because I clicked on the X button manually. What I can do is to go to my animation player and add another property that's actually going to close the game after the animation has finished so that we can make sure the animation only lasted the exact amount that we requested it to last. So what I could do would be to just add a track here, a property track, select the animation player, and if I search here for movie quit on finish, I can select this and I can go, let's say, to my final second, and in here I can insert the key, and let's make this key be true. So now if I save, if I press F6, you'll see that my hands are in the air. I did not press anything, but the game closed. So now if I look at this, the recording is exactly 3 seconds, just as I have set it in the animation player. Alright, now I have previously mentioned that we can also create animations for our points shop. Now, in order to create those animations, you notice that I need to have transparency in them. And how could I add transparency because the AVI format does not support transparency? Well, what I could do is to create a bunch of PNGs for each frame of my animation, and with those PNGs I could create a movie in a new format that is going to support transparency. So let's see how to actually do that. Okay, first of all, what we have to do is to change the extension from movie.avi to movie.png. So I'm just gonna write movie.png and also change the folder to recordings-png. And if I now press F6, you'll see that it runs just as before, but instead of a movie, what I'm going to get is a movie.wav, which is the sound file. Of course, I didn't have any sound, but this is the sound file, and a bunch of images that are effectively the frames of my animation. Now, of course, a bunch of images are definitely not a video file, so what we have to do is to find a way to convert all these images into a video. And we can actually do that with a library called ffmpeg. Now, what ffmpeg does is to allow us to basically convert from virtually any video or image format to another video or image format. And the process of installation for ffmpeg is also very simple, because if I go here, you'll see that I just have to run a command in the CMD. All right, but let's just get to our folder, and in here I can open a CMD terminal by writing CMD, and if I click enter, you'll see that I open the terminal, and if I do not have ffmpeg installed, I can install it with winget ffmpeg, or if I already have it, just like I actually do, I can just copy and paste this command from the Godot documentation. Now, what this command does is to create a 60 FPS video that takes as input all images called input and 8 numbers.png, and also this input.wav file, and creates an output.mp4. Now, of course, my images are called movie and 8 numbers.png, so what I'm gonna do is to replace this input with movie. And also for the sound file, I'm just gonna replace it here as well with movie.wav. And if I now press enter, you'll see that it basically finished creating my MP4. And if I now open this, it's just an MP4 just like before, but it's made from these PNGs. Now, where is the value of this? Well, the value of using PNGs is that I can actually make them transparent. Okay, so to actually make it transparent, what I'm gonna do is hide the part of the whole animation. So I'm just gonna hide the background. And I also have to go to project settings and search here for rendering. And here at the bottom at viewport, you'll see that I have this transparent background property, which I can enable. If I now enable this, if I close, I can save and I can press F6. And despite it not looking transparent here, you'll see that in the images that I have generated, I no longer have the black background. I only have transparency behind my Godot icon. Now, of course, yet again, there's another catch, and the catch is that the MP4 format does not support transparency, but what we can do is to use the WebM format, which actually does do that, and what I can do is to just go to CMD and paste yet another command that I copied from the Godot documentation, and definitely I'm going to put the documentation in the description, so don't worry, you don't have to manually copy this, but what I have to do is to again change this to movie.wav, and in here to change this to movie again, and if I press enter, you'll see that it generates my WebM file, and actually opening this WebM file produces a transition that has transparency. Now, of course, you couldn't see the transparency because everything was all black in the background, but that's why I created this page.html, which basically puts this animation on some website. And as you can see, this animation fully supports transparency. Okay, but that's pretty much it. So if you feel like making a gameplay trailer or animations for your game or animations for your point shop or whatever, then make sure to give the Godot Movie Maker a shot, because it's definitely worth it. So again, that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to my supporters, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.